The wonders of life got the prettiest side for everyone to enjoy. Standing up close by the Christmas tree, glimmering light, I am right where I wanna be. I will be home for a couple of days, wander around with you. You and me in the cold, thought it'd never be true. Wherever I go, I got you. Oh, I have stopped running, there is no way trying. You better loosen your belt. Drinking hot wine by the fire, don't care of anything else. It's Christmas.
Hello everyone, and welcome to another episode of the 25 Days of Christmas, an Advent podcast where we talk about a Christmas movie or special every day until December 25th. I'm Patricia, and I'm here with my sister Carlene.
Hello everyone.
So today we're going to be talking about the 1992 film Home Alone 2: Lost in New York, which is the sequel to Home Alone. And as we mentioned in the last podcast that Home Alone was such a major success that what better way to cash in on the success than with a sequel? So, taking place 1 year after the original, it features the McAllister family again, and this time they're going over to Miami for their Christmas vacation. And usually with the traditions of the family constantly just messing around with each other's times and schedules and the mix-up between the different flights, Kevin ends up with going over to New York instead of Miami, and once again we have the whole shenanigans of Kevin wandering around alone, but this time he's not home alone, he's just alone in New York. And we have the wet bandits, Marv and Harry, who escaped from prison and are planning to steal all the cash from a toy store called Duncan's Toy Shop. And we have Kevin, who checks himself into the Plaza Hotel so that he can be able to enjoy his vacation. But things go awry when they find out that the credit card was actually stolen. So there's a lot of things that are happening in this movie. But if you're probably wondering about our thoughts of it, I mean, I think it's more or less our thoughts of what happened in the first movie, except that it's rehashed again.
No, I wouldn't be as critical. I really enjoy this movie.
All right, then. I mean, it's basically a Mad Libs at this point. It's like if you were to just take little bits of the original plot and then just stick something different.
Yeah, I do. That is probably my one criticism for this movie. It's just like, just because, like you're saying, like some of the elements worked really well in the first movie, don't necessarily mean we need to recreate them again, reproduce them again. Because it's not even recreated. I don't know. It's the same thing, just reproduced again.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, we have them going over to a vacation elsewhere.
Oh, no, it starts very similar. Right?
Yes.
The introduction of a chaotic home as they're getting ready. It's the holiday season, and I guess they travel during the holidays. I mean, I guess it's tradition, so I understand that part where I guess some families travel in the holidays, and you know, they live in the cold, so this time they're seeking warm climate.
Yeah.
And so they introduce the whole family again running around the night before they have to travel. And so that seems fine. It's just, you know, they did it again. Like they went to sleep and didn't set, you know, they messed with the alarm, and so then they are up late and they are rushing to the airport. They're about to miss their flight, and in that chaos, that's where Kevin gets lost.
Yes.
And
he gets lost because he's trying to set up his batteries for his little device, and then he sees a man who's wearing a similar jacket to his dad. He follows him, and that ended up with him going over to New York instead of Miami.
Yeah, I think obviously it's a movie, and so you remind yourself that, but I don't really think that anybody or any parent or mother is going to allow the same thing to happen twice in the same kind of way.
Yeah.
You know, like when they're at the gate, I would make sure to have Kevin glued to my hand, you know, glued to my body. And, you know, there's a scene where she's kind of ushered and like pushed into boarding the plane. And without her confirming that Kevin's around, that's something that's a little bit unrealistic and I wouldn't have done.
Yeah.
What I think they executed well was Kevin's scene. How easily it was for him to follow this man. He thought it was his dad. And I guess at that time we were mentioning, like, when you traveled, you know, the way that you travel now where everything's, like, you down to where, you know what I mean? Like, you sit, everything is planned out. Versus then it was a lot more, there was freedom when you were flying. So I guess it's like find a seat wherever you can.
Yeah.
So they have him kind of jumping on and easily you can see how he misses all the clues that he's on the wrong flight.
Yeah.
And going to the wrong location.
And then of course they have to introduce another character that Kevin for some reason is afraid of. In the first movie it was in the first movie it was Old Man Marley. In the second movie it's the Pigeon Lady.
Yeah, I just think that, like, there's just too many scenes that we don't need to recreate. You know, like, I think that if they would have done really, like, tested their creative juices and really brought us something different, we still would have really enjoyed it.
Yeah, but I can understand why they decided not to do it, because as we mentioned in the Home Alone discussion, it was the highest grossing Christmas movie ever made until, of course, the movie we're going to be talking about next time. And then there's also the fact that it was the highest grossing action movie until The Hangover Part 2. But that took about 20 years for that to be completed.
I don't even know why they would consider this an action movie.
I don't know why.
That's weird.
I'm not the one who
I don't know why.
I'm not the one who puts this together.
I wouldn't even consider The Hangover an action movie either.
Yeah, it's a comedy.
Like a twisted comedy. Like,
yeah,
I don't even know what that's about.
I don't know who's the one in charge of putting this stuff together.
Huh. But anyway, so I think that, like, my criticism is that the major themes of this movie are too closely related. Let's have him alone in New York, and that's fine. And let's have him do the booby traps and do, you know, running from these two guys, and that's fine.
Yeah.
But then and all the other little things that are too similar, let's change it up a bit, you know?
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty much a lot of similar things. Like, he watches a movie that's similar to the first movie, and, you know, Marv and Harry escape from prison, and they're all going off and stealing stuff again, and he meets up with them for some reason.
It's supposed to take place a year after all that happened, so
yes.
I guess, you know, maybe they're holding on to these similar themes because it makes sense. It's still, like, pretty relevant to his time frame.
Yeah.
But honestly, I still enjoy the movie. It's still really good, and I think it holds its own. Obviously, the first one, I think it's better.
Yeah.
But this one's still really good. Like, I wouldn't say, like, a lot of times I feel like sequels really, like, are a miss. This one I don't think is. I think this one does pretty well. Like,
yeah, and I think that this
beautiful.
I think that this one is probably the closest one that we would get to the original, because afterwards it's completely different.
Yeah, of course.
Yeah, because Home Alone 3 and 4 focus on different protagonists. Home Alone 5 has Kevin again, but it's a completely different actor. And then Home Alone, the reboot that came out last year, again, it's a complete reboot of the original.
I've never seen any. I've only seen the 1, 2, and 3.
I have seen all of them except for the reboot.
I think what this movie does well is the visuals. New York in the 90s, like, nostalgia. Here we go again. We are originally from New York, so a little piece of it feels like home.
It does.
It's beautiful, you know, like, it's Christmassy, it's cold, and you can feel the cold. It's, you know, you can see why he's kind of wanting to be in New York. It has a little bit of that magic. And, like, you, for, you know, people are going to come at me at the comments, but New York is a beautiful place, but it's one of those places that it's most beautiful, in my opinion, captured in movies and in pictures.
Yeah.
Because, like, no one romanticizes New York more than when you see it in a movie. Then when you show up, you're like, oh yeah, the reality sets in, right?
Exactly. Yeah.
So that, like, the romantic elements of New York are there, and it's funny. Like, you know, they still have the humor, similar humor, but they've introduced some other characters, some other comedians.
Yeah, like, first of all, Tim Curry, who's the concierge. We have Rob Schneider in one of his earliest movies.
I love Rob Schneider. So you know, you're introducing some new comedians, which it's enjoyable, and those characters are hilarious.
Yeah.
And yeah.
I think that there are some things that are for beat like the original, but in my opinion, there are some things that I do kind of hold against it. Like, we were watching in the movie that when they went over to Miami, it was raining. And as you guys know, we lived in Florida for 20 years. And we know that from, what was it, like around May or June, depending on the season, to November is hurricane season. December, it does not rain.
Yeah. I think that's a small detail, though. Like, you know.
Yeah, and another small detail that they decided to put in, which was, again, shown in the original, was they're watching It's a Wonderful Life again, but this time it's in a different language, which makes sense in the first movie because they were in Paris, but now they're in Florida.
Yeah. It's and I was telling Patty, you know, like, unfortunately, like, earlier movies sometimes lean in a little bit too close to stereotypes.
Yeah.
So Miami, Florida, they're going to put in a movie, a Spanish, you know.
Yeah, because a lot of Cubans live around in Miami.
Yeah.
But nonetheless, I mean, they are really trying to make it a contradiction to what is going on for Kevin, where Kevin is in New York, and he's in this beautiful hotel, which at the time was owned by...
I see what you mean, like juxtapose.
Yeah,
like,
juxtapose, yeah.
Yeah,
there's a huge juxtaposition between where Kevin is at and where his family is at.
Which is kind of funny because, like, he's living the luxurious life and they're over here, you know?
Yeah, in this rundown motel that's constantly raining.
And, like, I don't, you know, inadvertently twice, he's kind of ruined his family's holiday.
Yeah, pretty much. But they actually do rectify it in the end when they go over to New York, and then Duncan's toy shop was able to give them a whole bunch of toys as thank you for catching the criminals who are trying to steal the money for the children's hospital. Yeah.
I think I like the movie still. I think it stands on its own. I think it has a lot of elements that make it still enjoyable. It almost does feel like, in a lot of ways, like the natural progression of the story.
Yeah.
I think that if they would have changed just a couple of details to just kind of freshen it up a little bit, that would have been nice.
Yeah.
But I think overall, it's still a really enjoyable movie. It's still like a classic in my opinion. Yeah, and I think it's a movie still worth watching.
Okay. Yeah, I would say that I would watch this, but not before watching the original.
No, of course not. And I mean, I don't know, people who watch movies out of order, that's like one of my weird things. Like,
there are some people who do.
I know, and I'm just not that way. Like, if I want to watch recent, let's say, like, I used to watch a show in the past and I haven't seen it in a while and there's some new episodes or some new seasons, I will not start the new season until I go all the way back and rewatch and get all the way caught up. And, like, that natural progression, I just feel really weird, like, jumping in the middle of a story.
Yeah, like Grey's Anatomy, for example.
Yeah, unfortunately, Grey's Anatomy is so long.
Yeah, it has, like, what, 500 seasons?
Yeah, exactly. So, like, there's been points where I've tried to, like, get caught up. So I've gone all the way back. But, like, my stamina, like, I don't have enough stamina. I like, gas out after, like, season... like 10 or something, 14. It's just too many. So
yeah, exactly. Season 10 or 14 out of 500.
Yeah, it's way too many at this point. So
exactly,
I've let go of that.
Yeah, I don't blame you. So yeah, I guess we can wrap things up. So how would we rank this in terms of viewing? Every year, every few years, or once or never again?
I can watch it every year or every other year.
Yeah.
You know, if I miss a year or skip a year, I'm not going to feel like my Christmas season isn't complete.
Yeah.
But I definitely would. I like to, like, pair things. So if I'm watching Home Alone 1, I probably want to watch Home Alone 2 with it.
Yeah.
Either right after or closely after. So I'd watch it pretty often.
Okay. Yeah. If I am going to watch Home Alone 2, then I cannot watch it without Home Alone 1. And in terms of me viewing it, just like how I would watch Home Alone every year, I would probably watch Home Alone 2 every year to kind of, like, pair up with it.
Yeah.
So, yeah, let's rate it. How many Santas?
How many Santas? I would give it like
I would give it a 3.5, mostly because it borrows too many elements from the original.
I would give it like a 3.8, 3.9.
Okay.
Yeah. I too agree. Like, that's my biggest negative critique, which is just that. But everything else I really enjoyed.
Yeah. All right, so that is our discussion of Home Alone 2, Lost in New York. Let us know in the comments below about what your thoughts of this movie are. Did you like it? Did you not like it? How would you rate it? Would you see it every year, every few years, or once and never again? Also, let us know about what other Christmas movie or special that you want us to cover. We don't know if we're going to be able to get all of your requests, but we promise that we will try to get as much as we can right before the holidays end. So that's it. Tune in tomorrow as we talk about another Christmas movie or special. See you then.
Bye, guys.
Gaze upon the sky, Christmas on my mind, somewhere from a place up high above. There's a song of love traveling afar, seeking us to warm up